What's up, Average Dad fans? Welcome back to another video, and today we're talking about the RealMe GT5 Pro. There is a hell of a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. Now, the first thing I'm going to tell you about the GT5 Pro is the price. Yes, a lot of people leave this to the end. I'm starting with the price for one very good reason. When I tell you the price, I want you to keep that at the front of your mind for the rest of the video, because the specs this device packs for that price, I actually don't know how RealMe are doing it. It's not often I say that about a smartphone. The profit margin on phones like the S24 Ultra, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, even the OnePlus Open, which is a very reasonably priced foldable phone, there's a hefty profit margin in there. But for £500, yeah, it's kind of blown my mind a bit. So let's talk about those specs. I want to talk about internals first. Now, it's Android 14, it's RealMe's own software skin, RealMe OS 5, or yeah, whatever they're calling it. It's a skin over Android 14. Ultimately, it's got a heck of a lot of customization, like a lot of skins do. It can look almost like stock Android if you want, but it's got a game mode, it's got spatial audio, it's got Dolby Atmos, it's got security features, biometrics. Software-wise, this genuinely ticks all the boxes. It's got floating windows, multitasking, no stylus support, but other than the S24 Ultra, I don't know of any other candy bar phones that have stylus support, so we'll let that one off. There's no headphone jack, as Floss would say. That's whack. I couldn't give a toss. I do not plug my headphones into my phone, ever. Now, other technically internals but hardware features is the storage and the RAM. While I can't find out for sure, I don't think it's DDR5X RAM, but it's DDR5 RAM for sure. And the storage is UFS 4.0. The USB type on here is 3.2, the latest and greatest that you can get. Every single spec internally that I've mentioned so far is A+. And that continues on to the hardware. It's a 6.78 inch LTPO AMOLED display at 144 Hz. For me, the best display I have seen for a long time. It's Full HD Plus, not Quad HD Plus, but let me tell you, the S23 Ultra out the box is set to Full HD Plus, because the battery drain that Quad HD Plus seems to give you isn't really worth the reward or benefit. Don't get me wrong, I always put it to the highest settings, but with the RealMe, Full HD Plus is more than good. For those wondering, it's like a 1.5K resolution screen. Plenty sharp, 450 ppi pixel density, and the pièce de résistance, the cherry on the cake, if you like, is the brightness. I used to think that 1500 nits of brightness was enough. Then companies came out with 2000. Xiaomi came out with 2500. Now it's just getting ridiculous. The RealMe GT5 Pro has a 4500 nit peak brightness. I genuinely think that might burn your retinas at some point. Now, that is in a very unique, rare circumstance, watching HDR plus content outside in the sun. You may get to 4500. But on the manual slider with auto brightness turned on, you're getting close to 1700 nits. Brighter than any device I've ever tested, seen, or used. Now, there's over 1 billion colours. Content on this looks sharp, clean, clear. The speakers on the system are stereo, which again, sometimes on a £500 device, you don't get stereo speakers. But they sound great. Take a listen.
too busy. I'm spending all my time with you, driving through the states.
If you don't want to be an absolute weirdo and listen to speakers on your phone in public, you're going to want to plug in headphones. Bluetooth 5.4 on board, Wi-Fi 6, 5G connectivity. Yeah, the list goes on of all the flagship internals and externals. And we'll carry that on to the cameras. Again, keep in mind the price. It's a triple camera setup. Much like the Xiaomi Redmi K70 Pro, a £500-ish, slightly more device with all the flagship specs, the GT5 has a triple camera setup. There's a 50 megapixel wide camera lens which takes fantastic photos. The processing with RealMe seems to be on point. I love the colours, I love the lack of saturation like something like the Samsung gives you. They're always a bit oversaturated to me, but the pictures here look great. There's a 8 megapixel ultra wide, and don't let megapixels get in the way. Ultimately, the ultra wide shot looks similar to the wide as far as colours and sharpness. Fairly impressed with that. But for me, again, that cherry on the cake, it's the telephoto lens. RealMe have included a 2.7 times optical, we'll let them have 3 times optical, zoom lens. And anywhere from 3 to 10, even 20 times looks sharp, clear. For me, on a par with the S23 Ultra, the OnePlus Open, the iPhone 15 Pro Max. And where it actually surprised me most, this is 100 times zoom. Look how sharp it is. And let me tell you, when using the phone, the stability and the way it keeps something in frame for long enough to take a shot is class leading on a £500 device. Video recording, it's 4K 60 on all rear lenses, and, well, I'll throw it over to me to tell you. And yes, it's true. 4K 30 frames per second on the selfie camera. Guys, if you know, you know, Chinese phones don't do 4K on the selfie camera, so win to RealMe. So yes, 4K on all 4 lenses. Wow. Now the last thing I want to talk about on the GT5 Pro is the battery. Included in the really cool box with the copper line, to be honest, like all phones should, there's a charger, there's a really nice looking case, silicone but grey, not that clear plastic TPU type case, it's a grey case which looks really nice. There's the charging cable, and it's a 100-watt charger in the box. If you buy through GizStop, they send you an adapter for the UK. So you got 100 watts of charging including the box. Now that charging brick can get your phone from 0 to 50% in 12 minutes. And all the way to 100% in about 28 minutes. Yes, included in the box, 28 minutes to charge your 5,400 milliamp hour battery. I talked about this in the Vivo X100 Pro video. Battery capacities are getting bigger, which for you and I means unbelievable battery life. When you compare this to flagship phones of last year, heck, even the S23 Ultra, the combination of the 5,400 milliamp hour battery and the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip, unreal. And just to remind you, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 chip with the Adreno 750 GPU gives you an Antutu benchmark score of nearly 1.4 million. 2 years ago, a £2,000 device could not get anywhere near 1 million points on that benchmark score. We have now got to the point where a budget flagship phone, priced mid-tier to budget range, is nearly 1.5 million points. There is nothing you will want to or need to do on the RealMe that will ever stretch it to its maximum capacity. So in a nutshell, hopefully this is coming through. First impressions are mind-blowing. What RealMe have achieved, I thought when I reviewed the K70 Pro last week, and don't get me wrong, this is still unbelievable. The design, the build, the cameras, the software, HyperOS, it's a great device. And for £550, I thought this would be the best budget flagship of the year. Well, I was wrong. RealMe, right before the end of the year, have managed to release the GT5 Pro, which, if I was big enough to do an award show like MKBHD, this would be included. We'll not be surprised that Mr. Who's the Boss and MKBHD don't mention this because they probably weren't given it to review, and it's from China. And I guess that's the caveat. For those watching my channel, I'd like to think you're well versed in what a Chinese ROM is and what it doesn't have. Snapshot, Chinese ROM will not have Android Auto. That's basically it. Everything else is going to work just fine. Google Pay, Google Play Store. As soon as you download the Google Play Store APK, all your contacts, calendars, everything will transfer over. Yes, there's a few other tiny things that I don't care about. Google location tracking in the background may not work on this device. That's not to say that Google Maps doesn't work. It knows your location. It uses a GPS. It's just that timeline that may not work with the GT5 Pro. So if Google Timeline is your deal breaker, don't buy a Chinese ROM. And to be honest, I probably shouldn't say this, don't watch my channel. If you are going to continually ask the same questions about a Chinese ROM, you're watching the wrong channel. Wait for a global version of a phone like the OnePlus Open if Android Auto and Google Timeline is on your bucket list of things you need. Otherwise, stay tuned to my channel. 2024 is just going to be a wild year for the Average Dad channel. I'm going to buy it all. I'm going to review it all. And more importantly, just like the GT5 Pro, I'm going to sell it on to you for cheaper than what I paid every single time. So, if that sounds good, smash subscribe. If you've enjoyed this content and first impressions, hit like, and I'll be back soon with a full comparison between this and this. Until next time.